Hello, everyone. Hello to all my NYP followers and the viewers today. Thank you for giving me your time. Today's episode is tremendous because I am going to introduce you to someone who, according to me, is, well, a very special someone who, according to me, is a, a real evolved spiritual being, and you will find out why I feel that. And and also without a doubt an unsung hero. This lady has a mission, she has a vision, and she turned it into a reality. Her grandfather's farm, over 300 acres, she converted that farm into a cageless shelter, into a beautiful cageless shelter and a haven for dogs that are abandoned, injured, and homeless. And she's done that against all odds and obstacles, which she keeps on facing all the time. And in her beautiful land, she has, I think, about now over 2,000 dogs, and it's a piece of heaven on earth for them, and it's called Territorio de Zaguates. It's very special, and I am so happy to introduce to all of you Lya Battle, this very special lady, all the way from Costa Rica. She's sitting in her home and giving us our time to tell us her story. Hi, Lya. How are you? How is it
Hi,
like in Costa Rica? We here in
hi.
Asia hope to visit this beautiful country.
It's a very beautiful country. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Nita. What a beautiful introduction. Hope I can live up to that.
Oh, for sure. That and more. But the first time I heard of you was on a TEDx talk, and I was having my dinner, and I put on this TEDx, and I was blown away by that, and I said, this is unreal because I've never heard of something like this before. Where shelters, in my mind, are, yes, they put in cages because there's dogs that will start fighting. You somehow, I don't know how you created, but you believe. I've watched some of your interviews. You believe that we all can create our reality, and done with passion and purpose, it can be fulfilled.
Yep.
So I would love very much for you to tell us a bit about your story, how you started, and so all the viewers can understand, where you're coming from.
Sure. Um, for one thing, I think it's interesting that we spend a lot of time in our lives planning for the future and developing goals for what we want. And to me, it's always been kind of a waste of time because life has a way of taking you down the path you're supposed to go. If you listen, if you let yourself be led, you'll be you'll be on the right path. Maybe not the one you imagined, but certainly the one um you have to trek. In my case, just so you can imagine, I I never wanted kids. I never wanted kids. I'm a teacher, and I know how delicate it is to bring up a human being. I know how the best intentions sometimes backfire when you're a parent and you try to protect your kid too much or not enough. And I knew I was very susceptible to making those mistakes, and I didn't want to have to carry the responsibility of a kid that I had damaged. So I thought, no, I'm never going to have kids. It's just not my thing. I don't want the responsibility.
Mm.
Well, in fact, when I met Alvaro, I said, listen, don't you're young. Everything's fine. I'm never gonna have kids. I don't want to have kids. So if you want kids, let's just leave it where it is. We'll be friends. I appreciate everything, but I'm not going to give you kids. And he said, no, it's fine. I don't want kids. But that's how much I wanted my individuality. I wanted to live a life, an uncomplicated life. a life. I didn't want a house. I wanted an apartment where I could just close the door and be gone. And if I wanted to stay out 3 days or 2 days or one day, or I didn't have to worry. It was just me. Well, that's kind of not what I have now, right? Um, I know I've from the beginning, I always loved dogs. I always loved all animals, every insects. I love every little creature on this world. And I think it's greatly because my dad, who he's in, well, he's very old now, but he was a biologist, and so he taught us about everything in the world and how things lived, and so life of other creatures was precious to me. But I always thought cats and dogs were kind of sacred and everybody took care of them and everybody liked them. So to me, it was my job to love all the other ones, love the snakes and the toads and the bats and all the other little animals. Because I really, very often, we don't know reality until we go past our little bubble. And I certainly was brought up in a very protective bubble. My parents were very strict parents, and we had a very comfortable life. And in our neighborhood, every time I saw a dog on the street, I just assumed it belonged to somebody. So it took a lot of a lot of years before I realized the reality of a dog's life. And it happened just because I came upon a dog. Actually, Albert was the one who brought home a dog. And I go, what? Why did you bring home a dog? And it's a responsibility, right? So I was thinking, no, 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 no responsibilities. Um,
Yeah.
and he said, well, somebody gave it to my mom. She doesn't want it. So that dog sort of opened the door to, I don't know, to me paying more attention to the ones on the street. One day, and this is also a story. One day I was just in the yard. We were doing some construction, and I see this beautiful dog. I thought he was beautiful, and automatically assumed pretty owners. Okay,
Exactly.
he had cherry eye, little things, and it's very easy to correct. And one of my cousins was a veterinarian, so I called him. No smartphones then. And I called him and I said, look, I described the dog. And he said, oh, yeah, that's very easy to correct. I go, he probably has owners, but his owners either don't care enough or they don't have the money. Can I take him? And can you do him? And he goes, yeah, bring him over.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me back the dog a few hours later and he said, okay, so now for 8 days, you have to put these drops in his eyes. And I go, but wait, he's not my dog. And he goes, well, but you have to because that's his antibiotic. He's going to be, this whole thing's going to be worse for him if you don't. And there I was with a dog that I clearly hadn't planned on getting. And, um, and but I had to deal with it. And I thought, his owners will show up soon. They'll show up soon. And they didn't. And the 8 days came up and the treatment was done and he was looking great. And I started walking all over the place. This was before Facebook, couldn't post him anywhere. I knocked on doors. Nobody knew the dog. Nobody had ever seen the dog before. So I kept him and I thought, well, I mean, I have to find a home for him because certainly this isn't a home. And it just takes one animal to kind of, or in my case, it was one animal. It's just one situation to actually open your eyes, truly open your eyes. And as I thought about also, and the fact that what a nuisance! I don't really want this dog with me right now. I thought, okay, what are the options? He's, I'm not going to put him back on the street. And a shelter, he's going to be in a cage for the rest of his days. If he's lucky, if he doesn't enter, if it's not a high kill shelter.
Mm-hmm.
By this time I had realized he was a very stubborn dog. And other dogs had come into my life in months because it had been months.
Mm-hmm.
And for some I'd found homes, others had stayed back, but I kept this feeling kept growing that something was terribly wrong because the only it wasn't right that the only option a dog had, a dog who never asked to be born,
Yeah.
if he didn't find somebody who wanted them, then he was clearly going to end up either on the street or it caged for life or
Mhm.
dead. And I thought, no, that's not right. I'm just gonna hold on to every dog. I'm not gonna, I didn't want a shelter. I just thought
Mhm.
when I come across a dog that I can help, I'm gonna help them.
Mhm.
I'm gonna spay and neuter them
Mhm.
and find a home for them. And I thought
Right.
it was gonna be that easy,
Mhm.
but it wasn't that easy. And so many dogs came in, very few found homes. And in the process, you keep, I mean, you just, how are you going to say no? Now you're more aware. Now you see them everywhere. You see them everywhere. That didn't happen to me before. And I wanted to help them all. I couldn't keep them all. And the adoptions here, the culture for adoption was very, very, very young. Very few people were adopting. Most people bought their dogs.
Yeah.
So little
Yeah.
mutts and zaguates were not very popular.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard to get them adopted, but I at home, I think we got, I think the largest number we had at one time was about 180 dogs.
Mhm.
And Alvaro, my husband, had built all kinds of fancy levels and split levels so that they could have their fun and enough surface so that they could really be comfortable.
Right.
To me, that was the secret. That's when I realized, where does this idea come from that dogs can't stand each other or that dogs have to be separate? They're family.
Yeah.
Some, I could see some liked each other more than others, but so well, that's what families are like. No, I mean, we we like some of our family members more than others, and
Yeah.
but we tolerate them and we behave and we try to be civilized. Well,
Yeah.
dogs do the same. We do the same. So for many years, it was just at home, slowly getting them adopted and still thinking this isn't a shelter. This is just a project. And then it just, it came to a point where Alberto just said, listen, we either stop bringing in dogs or we're going to have to move them to the farm, especially because they had started construction in the back of our house. Before that, we didn't have neighbors and it was fine. Nobody was bothered. But when that construction started, I thought, oh no, here goes the neighborhood. And I was right. So we did move them up and I was scared. I was terrified. These were my babies. By now, these were all my babies.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't want to think of them in a farm alone. Well, they weren't alone. We had hired a lady to look after them. She was going to live there. And that was the beginning. And I kept asking people, hey, why can't a shelter exist the same way a goat farm exists? All the animals together, eating together, living together in the same quarters. And everybody said, no, because dogs are different. Dogs will kill each other. Dogs will revert to their instincts and their pack animals. And I kept thinking that never happened at home. That's strange. But people sounded like they knew what they were talking about. And after we moved all the dogs up to the farm, I kept waiting for that moment. I was terrified. I thought, what is it going to happen? Are they going to revert? Are they going to? No, no, they're not. Now I can tell you, no, they're not. Dogs are not wolves. Dogs haven't been wolves for centuries and centuries and centuries. Dogs are social animals, right? But dogs, if you give them a human being close enough, they will continue to be the dog that wants to hang out with a human being,
I never
unfortunately.
knew that. I never knew that, Leah. I mean, when I heard what you did, yeah, I have to interrupt you for a minute because
Oh,
this
no, no, go ahead.
really blew my mind. This really blew my mind. And when you said that, they don't have those vicious fights like most shelters are afraid of, and that's why they're in cages. And and also what you said is, which I loved what you said, was they teach each other.
Yes, they do.
And I never knew that.
Yes, they
It
do.
was through you that I understood that they teach each other.
They teach each other, and they, you have to let them correct each other too, because sometimes what's the first thing a human being, it's our instinct. When we hear a dog growl, it's no. I mean, they don't have different voices. They when they have to express that their concern or their disagreement, they'll bark or they'll growl or they'll show their teeth. Let them. That's their language, and they have a right to express themselves. And yes, sometimes they have to tell each other, get out of my face. That's my stick. You're getting on my nerves. They, they have to. But but as long as there's a human being correcting them and just reminding them, nope, we don't like that. Nope, we don't, that's not the way you're supposed to behave. They get along. They get
Incredible.
along. They
Incredible.
will.
And you're proof of that, you know. So how many dogs you have approximately right now
Right
in
now, I think we're
Territorio?
sort of, we're a little under 2,000 right at the moment. We're like 1957 or something like that. Sometimes it goes past 2,000. Sometimes we're able to bring it down. We've been really busy in adoption fairs. It's the summer here, so everybody has activities and places want to draw crowds now because after pandemic everybody's was sort of isolated. So we've been invited to all kinds of adoption fairs, and we've been able
Oh,
to give a lot of dogs out
that's
for adoption.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
So
wonderful.
hundreds will come in too. I don't expect the number to change very much, but I don't care. It's as long as we're circulating the dogs, as long as we can make room for new dogs and find homes for old dogs, I'm fine. It's
Yes,
okay.
yes,
It's okay.
yes.
It's okay.
So you were explaining, so now you were telling all of us how it wasn't a big problem having all these dogs and growing, the numbers growing, and you were able to, maintain them. They were getting along. They were a family.
They were
So,
family.
yes,
They
sorry
were
to.
they were a family, and a family that needs reminding, obviously.
Mhm,
Um, if a fight does break out, you need to stop it. If
mhm,
no one's there to stop it, it'll
mhm,
get out of hand. And
mhm.
that's why very often I say this kind of a shelter may be more labor intensive. Yes, you need to have people living there.
Mhm.
It's not as easy as coming in, taking the dog out of the cage, cleaning the cage, putting him back in, closing the
Right.
door, and,
No.
and doing your paperwork. It's not that. But this is not a project to make human beings comfortable.
Right.
I don't care. And
Right.
this is not a project aimed at being cost efficient. I wish it could be, but I don't think anyone in rescue expects to ever come out of the red numbers. If you're doing it right, if you're doing it with your heart, you're not making a cent. You're
Right.
keeping your nose above the water barely, and
Right.
that's okay. Some
Yeah.
people were put on this earth to make money. Others others maybe others of us were put here to be a little bit crazy and do things that other people might not want to because they're a little risky, and I understand that. And I don't endorse this. I don't want people to think that this is the right way to do things. This was the right thing for me.
For you.
It's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It cost me everything I had built to that moment. Even cost me the closeness I had with my husband, because there's no way we can run this properly by staying together 24/7. No, he has to live most of the time at the farm, and I have to be down here because I have to work, and I need Wi-Fi, and I don't even have electricity where I am. So up at the farm. So it's complicated, but you do it. It's it's the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And if I
Absolutely.
had to change anything, I probably wouldn't. Even if I knew how hard it was going to be, even if I knew beforehand how much suffering was going to be involved, it's been as rewarding as it has been heartbreaking. But there's there's something in the magic of the life of a dog, or the lesson that comes with each and every one of these animals, that soothes a broken heart. And so it doesn't matter if it breaks. It'll get mended, and then it'll break again, and it'll mend again. And you just know, you just keep hoping that it'll mend more times than it'll break. But even if even knowing all this, I don't think I'd change a thing,
Right.
because if there was something to change, it would have been changes to make me more comfortable, to make the operation easier for me. But
Hmm.
in that moment, the moment you say, okay, I'll get, if I had done it differently, I'm going to start by building the enclosures and getting everything ready. And when everything is perfect, I'm going to take in the first dog.
Yeah,
You know how
wow.
many years that would have taken, and how many dogs would have died in the process waiting for me
Exactly.
to be comfortable enough? That's
Exactly.
not it. That's not it. So no, you can't. You can't. I would not do anything differently.
Right.
And,
Right.
and
So our viewers are seeing videos. We're, the videos of your beautiful farm, the dogs running around, and the viewers are seeing all that, and your amazing glass clinic. And I would love for you to talk about this program that you are very, passionate about, the spay and neuter. I totally agree with you, Dia, because this is something that you need help with the funding because it's not cheap. But if you can explain again to all of us, again, the way you do, why you think this could at least be a beginning to solve a problem that we created. We created. We are the ones that bred all these dogs initially. There's so many now, and this is something, and now we're abandoning them. We're not taking care of it.
yes,
So this
yes.
spay and neuter of you know.
It's vital. Staying in neutering is vital. At least I'm going to talk from the Costa Rican point of view, and I think it's real worldwide.
Mhm,
Um, there are many more dogs being born than there will ever be homes for them.
mhm,
Even if everybody had a change of heart, there still would be dogs left behind. Um, the saddest part is we created dogs, and everybody's going to say, no, God created dogs or nature created. No, when we were cave people, these wolves would hang around, and the more gentle ones would probably get scraps from us. And so those would come around and they'd identify, yeah, if we're okay with these people, if we follow them, life's going to be easier for us. And it was easier. They'd help the hunt, and they'd also get the leftovers, which is great for them.
mhm,
And then we started choosing certain dogs, or half wolves, or whatever you want to call them, because of their personalities. And then choosing the smallest ones, or maybe the shortest hair or the longest hair. And we started molding dogs to what we wanted. Breeds did not just happen. We created them. We took dogs and we started making them into what we want. I want a small one. I wanted a big one. I want a long haired dog. I want a
exactly.
sporty dog. So we created this animal. We took away the wild part of this animal, and we made it totally dependent on us. And in exchange, right now, what we have is a population of animals, of dogs mainly, that trust us innately, that follow us innately, that strive to please us innately, and we are just turning our back on them. We're, there are so many, we've become totally jaded by their suffering. We don't care anymore. It doesn't hurt us. Some people don't even notice the dogs on the street because it's become normal. Nobody, no creature should ever live on the street. No dog of 10 dogs born, one will survive. Most will die horrible deaths in 3, 4 years. They'll be hit by cars, they'll die of starvation, they'll die of sicknesses. It's why are we letting them come into this world when we can avoid that?
I
When
agree.
we have a way of stopping that?
Yeah.
For us, it's very important to spay and neuter, because I can't just keep receiving dogs and dogs and dogs. We have to stop dogs from being born. And
Mm-hmm.
the only way to do that is through spaying and neutering.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing it since we started. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how many thousands of dogs that have come through our gates have already been spayed and neutered. But um, we want to be able to do it at a larger scale because you can't keep up. When you talk about our glass clinic, one of the things we've had is, or one of the most surprising aspects maybe of all this effort has been the resistance we've had, the pushback we've had from the government.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know exactly. Maybe they don't like the fact that we make it very obvious that they're not doing anything about it and
Mm-hmm.
that they've let it get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but everything we do is complicated by the government.
Right.
So when we would bring the vets up to our farm and put up a tent for them to work there, all of a sudden they started saying, nope, nope, nope. They tell the vets, no, you can't, you don't have permission to go up there and do the spay and neuter clinic. Now we want every vet who does a spay and neuter clinic. They didn't do this specifically for us, but to complicate things for the vets who do almost free clinics. And this is sad, but the board of veterinarians here considers it to be unfair practices that they stipulate that they have to, I don't know, it's 40 or 60,000 colones is what you're supposed to charge for a sterilization operation. And what they charge in the spay and neuter clinics is usually 10,000 colones.
Right.
So they don't like it. They don't like the fact that these happen. So the board of veterinarians tries to interfere with it. Thing is, they were forcing us to take the dogs down to a clinic to get them spayed and neutered, which involved buying 100 cages,
Right.
renting a truck, driving the dogs down, getting them all done, driving them up. It was just the cost of driving them was more or less 20. I could have done 20 more
You could have
dogs.
stayed. Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
So we said we're going
Absolutely.
to build our own clinic. It's okay. You don't like the way we do it. You want us to have a clinic? We'll build our own clinic. Or it's not a clinic. It's not equipped. The vet brings his equipment, but it's a clinic. It's got lights. It has all the other things that a building has to have. And they said yes. And remember, you have to have 3 vets at the clinic at all time. And said three. Paying one for the whole day is about 1 million colones when with all the materials and everything. I get charged about 10,000 colones for every single dog I spay or neuter. And that makes 1 million colones for one day if the vet gets done, it gets 100 done. And that's more or less what she does. So I said, well, why do I have to have 3? Well, because there has to be a vet supervising the pre-op when you get them ready and you inject them to relax them and they get their anesthetic, and then the vet working, and then another vet has to be supervising the recovery. So it's pre-op, op, and post-op, and you need one on each post. And we thought, we can't afford to do that. I can't have 1 million colones become 3 million colones overnight for the same amount of dogs being, no, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my husband's idea. He said, okay, I'm going to build this out of glass. Everything except the roof
Incredible.
and the floor is going to be glass. And the vet is going to be in the center division she can supervise what's going on in the pre-op, she'll be operating, and she can supervise the post-op. So there will be a vet supervising all three operations. And the government just had to shut up and accept it.
That's
And that's why
that's
we have
such
our
an
beautiful
incredible story. That's
Mhm.
yeah, solutions and how you go over them. I think that everyone can see this incredible glass clinic which we are displaying, and it's you know I see how much it must be a struggle doing what you're doing, and obviously anyone can see that. Um, Very important, Leah. This is very important, and I have some other questions to ask you regarding, you know, your beliefs about pets and dogs.
Sure,
But this is
sure.
very important for me and all our viewers to know. Can you explain to us what it implies the cost to run this beautiful farm with that you've built, a piece of heaven on earth. Leah, I'll tell you something. When my dog passed away, and everyone knows this very famous poem, The Rainbow Bridge, where pets, they say, it's like a solace. Your pet's gone over the rainbow bridge, and just imagine running around and frolicking with other dogs, and your pet's very happy up there, and one day you will soon be united with your pet.
It will be. It will
But
be.
when we sing the videos of your incredible, I mean, over 300 acres and farm, and seeing all these dogs running, for me, that's already happening. You're already making this happen for, around 2,000 dogs. You're already making this happen for them here. And of course, we're going to share your stories about some of the sad stories of the dogs coming to you and how you have changed their life. But what I'd really like to know, because it is inconceivable how you're able to manage and run what you're doing even up to today. What does all this imply? How do you keep going with it?
Look, you keep going. First, you keep going because you can't stop.
Right.
It's that it's just that. I mean, when people ask me, how do you stand this? How can you keep doing it? I go, well, I don't have a choice. I can't stop. What's going to happen to the dogs if I stop?
Mm-hmm.
And but it's a lot of work, it's a lot of sweat, it's a lot of sacrifice, and no short amount of miracles. I swear somewhere up there approves. Because
Absolutely.
when it's been in the darkest hours, when you think, now what? How how am I going to do this? How am I going to overcome? I mean, the most amazing things happen, and all of a
Miracles.
sudden somebody knocks on your door
Miracles.
with a solution. I feel that way. Now,
That's true.
materially,
Yeah.
it takes having guys, I mean, it takes paying people to work and live there. We do not use volunteers. I need everybody to be accountable
Consistent.
and consistent. I I appreciate the intention of a volunteer, but I need the accountability that a job, that a salary brings, and
Absolutely.
it's too delicate. So we have a large staff. I think it's a large staff. We have between 5 and 8 guys who actually live there, who have to be with the dogs, who we steal from the dogs maybe to get something done, but their main job is to be with the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we must have about 5 or 6. It fluctuates because these guys, most of them don't even live in Costa Rica. They live in our next door country, which
Nicaragua.
is Nicaragua. And
Yeah.
they're very hard workers, and they come in
Yeah.
and they have to go back to see their families. So we're always rotating. It's the same group, but we're always changing the guys periodically because they have to go to their own homes. But so it's a lot of salaries. It's the food. You're gonna think it's incredible, but every 8 or 9 days, I pay $7,277 of every 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost seven. Let's say it's 7,300, just the food.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have medications
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of sort of expensive medicines for the dogs on
Mm-hmm.
stock.
Mm-hmm.
The dogs that come in because precisely because we choose to help the ones that most need help because the easy dogs to place, there's a lot of people trying to help those dogs and they will find homes quickly, but it's the ones that are really sick, the ones that have
Exactly.
been badly injured, it's hard for people to face that cost of recovery. It's hard. It's most people doing this are usually single moms with a great big heart and a very small salary, and probably living in a tiny little rental where they don't allow them to have pets, and they smuggle this creature in to try and save them. What if they have to hold on to them for 3 months because nobody wants to adopt it because it's just another black dog? Once
Mm-hmm.
once once he heals, people just see another black dog.
Right.
It's hard. So we
Yeah.
try to cater to the hardest of the cases.
Mm-hmm.
And that involves long medical stays, medical bills, very expensive operations. Um, we've usually our monthly costs are around 50 to $60,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we can lower it a bit, but usually it's around 50, 55, 60. Um, just the food is crazy.
Yeah.
Are the vets we work with who are amazing people, they we can just we bring the dogs to them
Mm-hmm.
and we run up a bill. I don't even know how high that bill must be by now. We're
Mm-hmm.
always we're always sort of paying for a little bit forward, a little bit, a
Right.
little bit, a little bit. But I don't know if we'll ever bring the amount down. But it works. The system at least allows us. Sometimes, sometimes we have to tell the guys that work at the farm, listen, I can't pay you this Friday. I'll pay you next Friday.
Right.
Um, because because sometimes there isn't enough and you have to decide, okay, what gets paid? Food first. Um, that's first and foremost. And then sometimes you have to go, well, um, we won't pay, I don't know, we won't pay the cars this week. We'll delay that, or I don't know. It's always sort of a game of chess,
Yeah.
but it gets done. It happens. And at least the dogs are covered. Their needs are covered. We've had we've had to deal with people trying to steal the farm from us, trying doing things legally to try to claim the land as theirs. Luckily, everybody knows it's been in my family for over 80 years. But that doesn't stop people from trying to do illegal things to take over a land that's privileged in a lot of ways, especially because we have a lot of water on we have our own water.
You have your own
And
water, right?
yes, and the other farms do not.
Right.
And that's because they haven't cared for the forest the way we have. So we've dealt with that. We deal with high expenses. We deal with criticism. We deal with friction from the government. But it's as if, I don't know, it's as if the more they bug us, the more determined I become. I've always been that kind of a person. If you tell me I can't do
Yeah.
something, that's the first thing I'm going to try and do.
No is not an option. No is
No
not an
is not
option.
an option. Exactly.
Does Leah, does the government help you with funding?
No, no,
Right.
no. If it was
Right.
up to the government, they would have closed
Shut
us
you
down.
down. Yes.
Oh yes,
They would have closed you down.
yes,
You
yes.
know, here is the thing. Please tell us how we can help you. We are going to set up your website. I mean, everyone can see your
Thank
website,
you.
where to send the funds directly to you, how to donate.
Thank
Please
you.
tell us, apart from finance, donation, how else can we help you? In what other ways can we help you?
For me, okay.
Money first. Money first. I get that. That's the most important. To buy
Well,
food, pay the vet.
money allows for a lot of things,
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
I think blessings and good wishes go a long way too.
Yes.
And I I went to a really one of the most expensive or fancy high schools when I was a teenager. It was never my kind of thing. Um, but from time to time, I'd run into ex-classmates who, of course, have beautiful lives, very, very privileged lives now,
Hmm.
most of them. And I remember one of them asking me, Lya, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing it? And I remember thinking, because the system is broken. The fact that it's the year two, well, it was 2000 then. It's the year 2000, and we still think that it's okay to keep dogs in cages or kill them when we're out of space, and that's okay, and that's a solution. The fact that we live with that ingrained in our heads and think that that's correct is sick.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that there is an option. I don't recommend, you don't have to do 2,000 dogs. Start with 30. Do 30. Keep 30. They'll be okay. Trust me, they don't have to be in cages. They'll be happy. Ha have a lot of little shelters like this. Make sure that these dogs who haven't been blessed with a human who loves them at least don't have to be burdened with a cage that'll limit them. They don't deserve it. They've done nothing to deserve such a horrible life, such a horrible end. You don't have to have 2,000, but it's not true that the only solution is to cage them for life. That's
Right.
not true. It's not. So I will do this because I need people to see that it works. I've been doing it for 18 years. It didn't work 1 year. It's not a 2 year plan. It's not a 3 year fluke. We've been doing this for over 18 years. Trust me, there is a better way. It's not as easy. It's not as simple, but very often the correct thing to do is not always the easiest thing to do.
I love what you just said. I really love what you just said, and I'll tell you, like we all know, I live in Hong Kong. You live in Costa Rica. In Hong Kong, our space, we have very limited
Very
space.
small.
But I have five dogs in my house, and I have this lovely housekeeper from the Philippines who's been with me for many years, and she's helped me raise all my dogs and even the ones that have passed on. And she saw your interview and she had tears in her eyes. And she said to me, why don't we move, all of us, my dogs and me? And she says, please come with me. Let's go live in the Philippines and we can do what Miss Lya's doing. We can do what Miss Lya's doing. She's in awe of you. And she said, let's do that because land in the Philippines is not expensive. So when you inspired her, you know that. And she actually wants to come out. She's in the back and wants to come out and wave at you and
Qué
say that
linda.
I saw your video. I said, okay, I'll get you out. I'll get yeah, no, but you
Qué
see, you
linda.
saying that and you advising people to do that, I mean, you have already inspired us here that it can be done and that we can keep. Well, I have five. Okay, I have a
That's
golden
hot.
retriever, two Yorkies, and two Hong Kong specials from the hills. We are a package deal. When I walk with them, if one stays behind, the four will not budge. They need each other. Yes,
Yes,
they have little arguments among
of
themselves.
course.
They're territorial, but at the end of the day, they are, they don't eat without each other. They don't do anything without each other. And so with five, I see that. And people ask me, they don't fight? No, they don't. So when you are encouraging us that it doesn't have to be 2000 feet, 10, 20, 30, I believe that, Lya. I believe that. So, but we want you to continue what you're doing. And of course, thank you for advising us because your thing is not just Territorio de Zaguates. For you, it's for all dogs around the world, all your
Yes.
abandoned, injured, homeless dogs around the world that are suffering. For you, it's the dogs. It doesn't matter whether it's a dog from Costa Rica, China, Egypt, and it's for all dogs because that is your heart mission. And
Mhm.
for you to run what you are doing, um, money is important, and I'm asking everyone support you too with what you're doing. It is tremendous. You are a great example for other people that maybe want to do the same, but not with 2,000 dogs. That's also huge. You're helping other dogs around the world, not only your babies, but everywhere else.
Everywhere.
Apart from us being able to send funds to you to manage all your expenses, because it's ginormous, the expenses. Is there also other ways? I know you said volunteers because of consistency, and I totally understand that and respect that. What other ways? Sponsor a dog? Um,
There
when we're
can be,
sitting all the way here in Asia, can we do that?
you can sponsor a dog, you can send a donation, you can become a monthly donator, you
Mm-hmm.
can share. Just look, if and I know there times are hard, so maybe people want to help, but they can't give more money. And I get that. Share the message then, share the videos when you see them. Make sure that people believe and know that it can be done,
It can be
that
done.
there are corrections that may be needed, of course, but that helps getting people to know that there is another way to do things is important. And if you can be part of that, great. If you see people in the comments going, oh, that those dogs kill each other, no, of course not, those they can't live like that. And if you heard this interview and you've understood something, you can join in and just say, no, no, they don't. They live like family. Families sometimes argue, but you got to let them express their ideas and move on.
Yes.
So sharing the message helps. Um, I I know there's so many wonderful things out there that a lot of people ask me, let me send you things. I love it. But Costa Rica has a really deficient postal service, and they will they will tax everything. We had, just for an example, we rescued a dog that had it's a beautiful story. Her name is, we call her Rexy Ramona. You'll know why Rexy. Um, she's, I think she's some kind, I think she's either part Rhodesian Ridgeback or a Rhodesian without a very
Mm-hmm.
marked swirl in the back,
Mm-hmm.
but she's a big dog.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know her story exactly, except she was running down the street like crazy. There was a bus coming. The bus slammed on the brakes in order not to hit her, but she still ran in front of the dog of the bus. And of course, the bus didn't roll over her legs. It actually skid over her legs. So her front legs. Um, a very humble man who was driving by in his old pickup truck picked her up. Of course, everybody was watching that. It was probably very gruesome. Picked her up, put her in the back of of his trunk, and went to find a vet. I mean, this dog was destroyed. Her front legs were gone, and she was bleeding like crazy. And he found this vet, and the vet said, "No, all we can do for her is put her down." And he said, "Well, I have 15,000 colones." And she said, "Well, give me that, and I'll do it." So the vet injected her with something, and remind me that I'm telling you this story because of the wheelchair. If not, I'll forget. But injected her. By the time he got home, it was already late. It was dark, and his dinner was getting cold. And so he said, "Well, I'll dig a hole in the morning, and I'll put her in the hole in the morning." Morning came along. He goes to get her, and he realizes she's still breathing. That's when we get the call from his niece, and the call actually came into Marcela, who Marcela, by the way, is the one who she deals with all the little special needs ones. And she goes, "Marcela, what do we do?" And she tells her what had happened. "What do you do in this case?" And Marcela said, "Well, if can you bring her to Heredia, because it was far away. Can you bring her here and have our doctors check her out?" To make a long story very short, they brought her. We were able to find out what she had been injected, because she was kind of in a coma, but she was alive. And the doctor said, "Okay, it's very rare we have this
Oh my
medication
God.
because nobody uses it anymore, but this is the antidote to what they injected her. Do you want us to bring her out of, or do you want us to finish it?" And they go, "No. If she if she's alive today after what she's been through, if she's fought to stay alive, or someone out there up there is fighting for her to be alive, I'm not going to take that life away. So let's try and bring her out of it." We did. She survived. They amputated, or at least they tried to trim off the legs, and we thought, geez, okay, so this is a big dog with no front legs. She learned to walk more or less on her back legs, and we posted pictures of Ramona, and a lovely organization in the United States called Joey's Paw
Oh,
contacted us,
oh, wow.
and they said, we want to send you a wheelchair for Ramona. It's a special wheelchair because it's a front wheelchair for a huge dog. I have no idea how much that would have cost, because wheelchairs, at least by the time they get here, they're super expensive.
Right.
And so they were kind enough to send it down for no cost. We didn't have to pay anything until it arrived, and then the Costa Rican government
Hmm.
made us pay almost $600 just tax, which is fine. If we had bought it, we would have had to pay that tax anywhere, plus the cost of the wheelchair. But that's what they do here. It's a donation. It says donation, but they'll tax it anyways. So people say, get yourself an Amazon wish list. I don't know how to get things from Amazon here without the government taxing the life out of it. Um,
Yeah.
if there is a way, and I'm sure there are ways to do, I don't know, if mailboxes or something, but I still don't know. I don't know how to do it.
Well,
I
to all the viewers out there, is please, apart from money donations, if you have advice for Leah in how to come around this, because
Yeah,
these things are very important. If any of you have, any advice, and please, reach out. There's Leah's email address directly on her website. Reach out with all forms of advice that you all have, because, um, none of us are experts. We're just letting our hearts lead us,
yeah,
and we believe in miracles because if the intention is pure and right, which is Leah's, the universe, we all hear this, will
it
conspire.
conspires.
But that doesn't mean that we should not be doing our part. And if we can, if we're able to, and we care, and I know you all care, because Nurture Your Pet, you're watching this because you love pets. So if you're able in any which way, please reach out to Leah, and you can find her email address on her website, and we're posting it here below consistently, how you can reach out to her directly. Yes, Leah, that's a wonderful idea. That, you know, getting around that a wish list because there will be a lot. Um, Sponsoring a pet because here's the thing. I wanted to also ask you. Now this goes a little deeper into how what you're doing is so precious. How all we as pet lovers, why are we watching you? Because obviously we love pets. And we all have experiences with our own pets, and we have, opinions about who are these. I believe that that pets are angels that come
Yes.
in fur.
Yes.
They don't have the
Yes.
wings, but in fur, and with fur. And we suffer as human beings. We have a lot of things going on: illness, depression, anxiety, and it's just getting worse, not getting better. On one hand, we have that, and on the other hand, we see all these dogs that have the ability to love unconditionally. All they want is, of course, food, and they want love. And and I know for a fact that a lot of a lot of mankind, we need to be, well, we are. A lot of us were medicated because a lot of us need it. We have disabilities, we have diseases, we are medicated. A lot of us are medicated because we have emotional problems, we have anxiety. There's a lot. And I'm a strong proponent believer that these pets have come here for a reason, because I don't understand how their capacity to love unconditional. I can't understand that. And I strongly believe that the majority of our illnesses, whether they're emotional, mental, and at times diseases, a lot of the times, those are very strong problems that is due to stress and and a lot of emotional pain. And like Mother Teresa says, you know, the biggest disease on this planet is the lack of love.
Yes.
And I don't understand why we need to suffer when we have them that are also suffering without us get together and help each other. And so this is, and I know that you believe in that. And this was my question to you, Dia. What is for you the perfect world? What how you have said, you know, many times I've heard you say we create our own reality. And I know you're trying to, and you are achieving that already with what you're doing with Territorio de Zaguates. But what to you is this perfect world?
To me, it has to start. I think the perfect world will differ from person to person, but there cannot be even a resemblance of a perfect world until man stops thinking that they are the rulers of this planet. Human beings have been on this planet for a very short amount of
I
time.
love it. I love it. It's true.
The dinosaurs were here longer than we have been. We are not top dog. We have taken over this planet as if it belonged to us, and it does not. It belongs to every single animal, every single creature, every single blade of grass that's on it has a
Wow.
right to be there.
Wow.
And until we live accordingly to that reality, there cannot be a perfect world unless we start to change. We do not own this planet. We are a product of this planet. We have as much right to this planet as the bird chirping on the fence right now. That does not give me the superior position just because I think I am. No, no, that's not it. We have to learn to respect what we live, what we share this world with. And when that connection returns to us, everything will flow.
Wow.
Part of all the
That's it.
suffering comes from that isolation. We
Absolutely.
need to learn.
Powerful words, Leah. Really. Um, I thank you for that, for saying that, because we at Nurture Your Pet, we're not only for pets, we have expanded to the animal kingdom, marine life. We need to respect
Yeah,
all of them, the marine life, animal kingdom, and the environment, and protect the environment that they live in. Because
exactly.
look what we're doing. Costa Rica is one of the first countries with the eco-friendly tourism and preserving and all that, which we all respect of your country. We really do. Obviously, like most countries in this world, governments are not helping with the abandoned pets and all that. But apart
Yeah,
from that, your country has set an
a
example,
lot.
and I
It
do
is.
love that about Costa
It
Rica.
is.
But
Yes,
your
it is.
words are very powerful. This connection that mankind and the animals and marine, this connection, if once we understand that and that we need to love and respect each other, I believe the suffering is going to stop, of course.
Me too.
Yeah, I love what you said. Um, Very strong. It's beautiful, and that
Yeah.
is the perfect world. That would be the perfect world. Apart from the fact that if we humans get our act together among ourselves,
Yeah.
that
You
we
know,
could
but
live 2000, like your dogs, 2000, right? Without all that, they still eat together and all that, and they're not like, you don't come in my territory, or this is my tree, and you don't sit next to that tree, because of
respect
course
it.
they get a little annoyed, but at least they don't kill each other.
Exactly. You
Yeah,
know, we think we're so superior, and we can't function to half the extent that an ant colony does.
yeah,
We what why do we think we're so hot? We can't we do we're embarrassed by ants and their societies who can live, work, prosper, and continue in peace.
in peace.
And we great big humans can't do it. We can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Took a little
You're
break,
welcome.
and now we're back. And during our break, you met my lovely dogs,
I
and their videos
did,
will be posted too.
Oliver.
And you met Sol,
Sol.
wants to do what you're doing, but in her hometown, the Philippines, and you've really inspired her for doing that.
Oh,
And thank you
thank
so
you.
much. And most of all, you know what I love about you? I mean, you're all over the place, but you are approachable. And
Thank
thank you for giving me and giving all of us your time, and
yes,
imparting your experience and your story to us, your knowledge, and inspiring all of us to
thank you.
to do better. You're an inspiration. So
Thank you.
Lee, I
Thank you.
have a question for you.
Yeah.
Dogs. What is your belief on dogs? Do you think they're spiritual? Do you think they've come here on this planet for a reason? Tell me more about that. Your belief.
To me, to me, they are a sort of angel. I know very often they'll sacrifice their own well-being in order to bring happiness to ours. We are mistaken when we think the dogs are just with us because we feed them, or that they need us because we feed them. No, that's not true. And if you want to see if you want to see the proof of how wrong that belief is, look at the dogs who live with the homeless. Look at the dogs, look at the loyalty. They will lie there on the cold cement floor or on the warm pavement. They'll be there whether there's water or not, whether there's food or not. They will be there and they will suffer the same things a human suffers, because their mission is to be with that person. That person is not showering them with treats. that person probably has very little to eat and shares a bit with them. Um, they understand each other. They're both living the same reality. They both have each other, and that's all they have. And so dogs really, food is not what they crave from us. They want our company. I don't know what made us so special to have such a perfect creature actually rotate or gravitate towards us. But dogs are here to change our world in the way it needs to be changed. They will make you happy every day. They will make your heart grow in directions you didn't think your heart needed to grow or could grow. They will show you happiness and gratitude beyond anything you could have imagined if you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they will break your heart the day they die. And they will break it in 1,000 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But the suffering that comes from their loss is only it's a small price to pay for all the love you got out of them. So I also believe that they come to you. You don't choose when they come. Certainly, some people will go out and buy the dog they want. And maybe, most probably, you'll do something good for that dog. But it's the ones that come into our lives unexpectedly. The ones that cross paths with us. Those are the ones that are going to change our life. And sometimes that little angel will come into our life and it'll be our fault that we let it go. You ignored it. You you shooed it away. You you had something more important to do at that moment, and you let that chance to
It's
have your
our
life.
loss.
Mhm.
It's our loss.
And it is.
You're,
I've seen hardened criminals cry. I there's a special jail here for senior citizens,
mhm.
and it's in a very sort of rural area. And obviously abandoned dogs tend to wander in because there's food and there's people and and they're tolerated for a while, and then after a while somebody in administration decides, nope, all the dogs have to go.
Mhm.
And I've seen men, hardened criminals, who have 3 life sentences. I don't ask what they're doing because I sometimes have to go pick them up, and I've seen them as I'm walking out with the dog. I've seen them stop me and go, is he going to be okay? Because that was his friend. They shared maybe leftovers. Um, he pet his head from time to time. This dog let him show love or experience love without having to worry that that would come back to haunt him. And I've seen it so many times, and I've seen them cry when I take the dog away. Try to be a big macho and not, and they sort of look away, and they pet the dog and they turn away, and I can see tears in those eyes. And it's one little animal, a little animal that it was with them for a brief period, and it changed them. And there's so many stories like that.
Yeah, what
So,
that's beautiful. That's
mhm,
that's a very moving
it's true.
story. Yes, and I mean, like you said, how they can improve our life emotionally in every which way. Um, I have my story that's on my website on how I started adopting my pets and how they've helped me with my
Mhm.
personal struggles and continue helping me. And yes, I really say, thank God for them. Thank God for them. Now here's the thing. Obviously, we're trying to explain here how beneficial. Yeah, he's he's been circling me, and then I'm hearing his little pitter patter because all the other big honchos have gone out for a walk, but he doesn't like walking. This is he's
Oh, sweetheart.
some of them, this one in particular, I'm putting his ears down. He does not think he's a dog.
He's a dog.
No, 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 no. He's human. He's not a dog. So they all have
That's a
their
lucky
each.
dog.
They each have their own personal and individual. They have their own
Yes,
personalities.
of
And
course.
by the way, putting it a little bit off off tangent here a little bit. I wanna say something. I heard you when you said the dogs come in Territorio de Zaguates, and of
Hmm.
course they need vaccination, right?
Yeah,
Apart from the fact that the veterinarians need to care for them when they're injured and all, a huge expense of yours is to have them all vaccinated, spayed, neutered, but
yearly,
vaccination. And
yearly.
how it is that you're able to keep track with your incredible team when each dog has their vaccinations due. Um, by the way, everyone can. I don't know if you allow visitors or whatever, but we're showing this on the videos also how you do it. And short of me actually being there and filming you, and I really wish that would have been better than right now here in my apartment in Hong Kong. But for now, this is as good as it gets. But I am coming. My son was in Costa Rica a couple of months ago with his wife,
No,
and his best
no.
friend is Costa Rican who lives here in
Ah,
Hong Kong. They went to school together, but he said to me, Mom, what a country. You have to visit Costa Rica. So I'm definitely
it,
going to do that. But
it
yes,
is.
they have improved my life in
Yes.
many ways. And my question, to you is, why are people hesitant to adopt a pet? Why, yeah, why? What are the reasons?
To me, okay, some people are not, I think, emotionally ready.
Hmm.
I think as kids, as babies, we all gravitate towards animals. You see it, it's a curiosity. You see a baby reach out for, I don't know, a scorpion, and it's a mom who goes, no, 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 don't touch that. Same way it's a mom who sometimes scares the mom or the dad who sometimes scares them. Don't touch the dog. He's dirty. You don't know if he's gonna bite you. So it's the way you teach a person to interact with his surroundings is going to mark them. Some people I think have had sort of some limitation in that area, and maybe they're not ready to
Hmm.
have, unfortunately, they're not ready to have that. I think it's a blessing to have an
Hmm.
animal around is a blessing. It's an honor. It's an
Hmm.
honor to have such a magical creature
Hmm.
want to hang out with us. But
Hmm.
sadly, I also think to some people, adoption means I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what I'm getting. And especially if you're adopting a stray, um, you're probably not going to get a breed. Definitely not here. We don't. Fortunately, the law protects to a certain extent backyard breeders.
Hmm.
So there's never these big um, these big interventions where people take the breed dogs from the breeder. We'd never have breed. Rarely do we have a breed dog coming into a shelter. So when people think of adopting a stray, unfortunately, some people consider even a dog to be part of their status. So it's not just the car that defines how well off you are, or the clothes, or the friendships company you keep. Um, Unfortunately, they carry this out. Many people do onto an animal, and an animal is not a thing. It's not an object. It's not. It can't. It the only thing that it says about you is, I mean, the way you carry that animal, the way you keep that animal is all that people should say about you. It's not, it's, there's nothing more. I mean, I think there's even a bigger heart behind somebody who has a stray on the other side of a leash, or an undescribable dog, or an old dog. Doesn't matter. He's not a perfect dog. He's not
Mhm.
he's not a glitzy dog. No.
Mhm.
He's old, or he's got special needs, or he doesn't even have a breed. That says so much about the person on the other side of that leash, on the other end of that leash. Unfortunately, people don't understand that. And
Right.
I think I think the population the population that has the right feeling towards adoption is growing in
Mhm.
certain countries more than others.
Mhm.
Um, I think that mentality of, no, a dog has to make me look
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I think that's dying. I hope.
Good.
I hope.
I
It's one of the
see
reasons.
that. I see that. I see that in Hong Kong in the last 10 years for sure. But there's still a lot to be done.
Yes.
Like you said, these dogs, they give birth to what, seven, nine dogs, and not all of them get adopted. So this spay and neuter is a huge thing where we can
Yes.
begin to stop this overpopulation of of the dogs. So that's huge. But yes, all around, it's a movement all over the world where people are trying to say, please adopt. It's a movement, and thank you for explaining um, the truth that the ones that don't adopt versus going to a breeder or shopping for one are the ones that want that specific looking one and whatever. But you can, well, first of all, to adopt a dog, you have to first be ready. So if you have disabilities and all that, you can. But you have to be emotionally ready. You have, and it doesn't have to be a dog. Sorry, I take that back. It can be a pet. It's a pet,
Yeah.
like
Any
a
pet.
dog or a cat, or mainly we're talking about domesticated. Pet.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Those are the ones that are in need of. Those are the
Hmm.
ones that are thoroughly abandoned. Um,
Yes.
so that's one thing. And when you adopt, there are some rules, and I am going to put that also at the end of this interview for those who want to adopt. Make sure the temperament of the dog is in sync with yours, the size. Are you able to control that size? So these are all things. It's a rule of thumb. So
Hmm.
if you are ready to adopt, then please be aware some dogs are energetic, some need more walking and all that. So these are very important because, and the reason I'm bringing that up, I am 100% sure, 1,000% sure that you have experienced where a dog got adopted from you and you were super happy, nice home, but he comes back after a week because the new parents could not handle the situation for whatever the reason. And so these things, these rules are so important when,
It's commitment. I think people don't have enough of a commitment, and they give up quickly, or they get scared quickly. It's like, oh no, this isn't for me.
yeah,
Give it a chance. The dog hasn't even decompressed. And even though
right,
you tell people, it's sometimes it's hard for some people to, they deal the same. It's not just dogs. They probably deal the same way with any problem that comes their way, anything that
yeah,
that doesn't turn out the way they expected. So it's not surprising. I prefer that they bring it back. And the first thing I say is, I actually set them up for that. I go, listen, the dog you're taking, I can tell you what the dog is like at the farm, where nothing belongs to him, where the only thing he wants is a home.
hmm,
Now, when he gets to your home, I can't guarantee he's going to be super protective of
yeah,
your home.
yeah,
So he might change. If he changes into something you don't like or you can't handle, bring him back.
yeah,
You don't even have to explain. You don't have to
wonderful,
make excuses. Just bring him back.
wonderful,
But it happens very often, especially when they adopt puppies. They don't have the commitment to educate the dog. A puppy's a lot of work,
yeah,
a lot of work.
oh yeah,
And if you don't do it right, then you have a dog that misbehaves or that doesn't know how to interact properly. But that's
yeah,
not his fault. You didn't teach him.
Yeah.
So it happens. It happens a lot, and there's a lot of education that as
Mm-hmm.
humans we need before we decide to bring a dog into or to commit to a dog.
Yeah.
As you said, you want to buy a dog, fine. You want a specific kind of dog, fine. At
Yeah.
least do your homework. Do your homework. Find out if that dog is right for you, as you said. W- Uh,
Exactly.
Now the new popular dog here is the Australian cattle dog. You have
Oh,
no idea how you don't have no idea how many people are abandoning them, and because they have a very difficult temperament. They're very cute, but they have a terrible temperament. So now we're picking up every at least every 2 weeks we get a new one or a mixed breed because they
yeah.
let them out or they've abandoned them and now they're mixing in with the strays. And they have correct characteristics. Certain dogs have certain characteristics that make them very hard to handle.
Right.
Do your homework. Do your homework before you bring a dog into your life. Make sure you're
Ab-
not going to let him down.
Absolutely. And Leah, you said something about they have definitely a much shorter lifespan than us. And we all have experienced the loss of
The
a pet.
loss.
And it happened to me last year, once before, and then last year. So this is my second time I've lost, but this time it was much harder. I was in Curacao with my mother, who is aging, and I was not in Hong Kong when Gina passed away. And so I got a pet loss grief counselor. She's a famous author. She's written countless books on pet loss grief. And I interviewed her at that time, and the interview was spectacular. And I interviewed her yesterday for another reason altogether. And we had a fabulous conversation. She lives in Arizona. Her name is Kate McGann. You will see that interview because I called her and I said, Kate, I have a problem. And she said, okay, another pet died. I go, no. My problem is now three of my five dogs, three of them are already 12 years old. And I see Oliver, my golden retriever, struggling now when he needs to get up. And he's turning, so not the, it's old age. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, now, I am already grieving the anticipation of them passing away. And she explained it so beautifully. So this interview you will love to see. And when I asked you, do you think pets are spiritual? Um, this week I'm having um, I'm interviewing someone, spectacular lady, also from the US, and her name is Sherlyn, and she's an animal communicator.
Oh,
So
that's
a
amazing.
lot of things, and we're not talking about communicating after they're gone. That's someone else
Oh,
I interviewed. This is communicating. She says they if you feel something's not right, she will communicate, and the dog will or the pet will tell her this is where I have pain, and this is where I'm struggling
yes.
with.
I've seen
This
it
is
done.
it's I have never seen this done, so this is going to be
No,
mind
I've
blowing.
I've seen it done with my dogs, and I tried to study it because there's a wonderful lady in Mexico. Her name is Daniela Camino, and
Yeah.
she teaches people. But you have to be very, very sort of mentally very stable
Yes.
and be able to meditate. You could probably do it.
Well,
Anybody can do it.
Sherlyn teaches this here in Hong Kong,
Uh-huh.
and I bumped into her again. Miracle. I was thinking that day, oh, I wanna be able to find one of these people. I'll go on the internet. No, I stepped out of my apartment. I went for lunch down the road. I meet this lady who is a friend of a friend of mine, and I never asked her what she's doing for a living. She goes, "Hi, my name is Sherlyn, and I'm an animal communicator." And I looked at her, and
No.
we hadn't even sat down. We hadn't even sat down to eat yet. And I thought, so this is where I believe in the universe. And I said,
Yes.
Shirley, would you be able to do this? She goes, hell yes. So she's giving me 3 sessions because she also explains how she teaches. She says we can all do it, but
Yes.
and so she teaches us how, and I'm very, very excited for that. You know,
You can do it.
we can, apparently we can, and
Oh,
boy, am I going to start using it the minute, I join her class. And
it's amazing.
but Leah, I struggle with something. I struggle with one thing badly, and I heard you talk about it. And that is something that, again, I'm learning from you. No matter how much I practice my spirituality, no matter how much, you know, I do, again, that's why I introduced you as, according to me, quite an evolved human being. I see a lot of injustice. I see what humans inflict on. Forget ignoring them. Forget when they see a homeless dog and look the other way. I can maybe understand. Not everyone can say, "Oh, homeless dog on the street, let's bring it home." That's, I'm not, but it hurts me, and I'm sure all your nurture your pet followers and viewers, when they hear stories about the cruelty. We don't post the cruelty because it's too painful, okay, to
Yeah,
post it. But
yeah, we
we know
know.
what's going on there. So we're not even talking about people that don't adopt, people that don't
No,
shelter. We're not even talking, we're talking about people that actively do that.
yes,
And
yes,
and it makes me sad, and it makes me even question. Yesterday I had dinner with my daughter, and my daughter had a conversation with me, and she says, "Mom, conversations about spirituality, God, and all that." And she said to me, "Mom, I am disappointed in not only what they do with animals, what they do to each other." And that is something I struggle with. But you said something that was so beautiful, and you reminded me again what I am supposed to have learned already by now, which is which is the ability to forgive.
you if you if you don't forgive, if you live in the, for example, in the cruelty, if you keep that alive, it's living with you rent free. You're carrying all that pain and disappointment with you. But not only is that unhealthy, I think there's two other things that help me very much. I think everybody has, I do believe we come back. I believe we return, and I believe we are meant to learn and to learn to be as happy as possible and try not to interfere with anybody else's happiness. And whatever you didn't learn, well, you've got to come back and learn it again. Whatever damage you did, you're going to have to come back and amend for it. And whatever happiness you brought, you will be rewarded for it somehow. Um, so I think there's people in this world who are living horrible lives, who themselves have an enemy inside of them who causes them to act this way. So I don't think they're happy people. I don't think that mind, a mind that can conceive hurting a helpless animal is is a healthy mind or a happy mind to live in. So they're carrying their own burden. And it's their path. Unfortunately, people and creatures will have to come in between their mission and their lessons. But one of my biggest teachers they've always been the dogs, because I've seen dogs that have been set on fire on purpose, and I've seen them wag their tail and try with whatever bit of strength they still had, try to come close to the next human being that spoke softly to them, even though another human being did this to them. I've seen dogs, one in particular. Luckily, he was adopted and he lives a beautiful life now. Tiny little black dog, faithful, following his alcoholic owner from bar to bar. And one day he'd wait for him till the morning outside, and his owner came out and he jumped up to greet him, and his owner just took out the machete and chopped off his leg. And this dog never stopped loving human beings because the first thing he did when he was strong enough to stand up was waddle over and offer his friendship and offer his love to the next human being he could find. I've seen it every day. I see it in the dogs I walk with, and I see their scars. And some I know their stories, some I don't. And they all look back and see if I'm coming. And they're all happy. And all they want to do is please you. If they can overcome the betrayal and the cruelty that they have found in the hands of other human beings, if they can forgive, how can how come I cannot? I have to. I have to. I've seen it. And I see how happy they are. And I see that their body may not be whole, but their soul is a whole animal. And that's just because they're able to forgive, move on, and keep searching for what makes them happy, even if what makes them happy is often a human being that doesn't deserve them. Um, but those have been the best teachers. I can't. I'm not the kind of person who is particularly fond of human beings as a race. No, I'd rather be surrounded by animals. But I know as humans, we're full of flaws. If they can love us with our flaws, we could try tolerating each other a little bit with our flaws. So it's
Wow.
kind of easy to learn to do it when you're surrounded by angels who teach you every single day. They remind you constantly.
Lya Battle, you are you are one of a kind. You are a beautiful, beautiful soul, and it's such an honor that
Oh,
you
thank you.
that you're here with us and that you have shared so much of your life and your story with us, inspiring us and giving us hope and making us look at pets in a different way. Thank you so much, all to all the NYP viewers and followers. Thank you for your time. I'm sure, I mean that you have enjoyed this, and I know that all of you, just like me, we salute you, Leah.
Thank
We salute you, what you do, the work that you have, the passion, and let's not forget the struggles, financial struggles to keep things afloat, and also the stressful struggles by the obstacles that you're facing each time with getting a permit for this and getting a permit for that. I mean, it's incredible all the things you deal with, and yet you are glowing. You are glowing because you have this inner, it comes from an inner joy. So and Leah, thank you very much. We all say
thank you,
we
Anita.
hope to see you soon. We all
Yes,
say
sure.
we are all of us. Please, Leah needs help, and this is a vision. We're not only helping her vision, but because we are able to make a difference. Whether it's a dog here, a homeless dog here, a homeless dog in Costa Rica and the United States, but hearing her story, I mean, it's very special, Leah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you
And
for having me.
we are all going to stay in touch with you. We have
Yeah.
your website, we have your
Yep.
contact details, and also all the where to donate, how to donate. I'm sure it's all on your website. Also, Facebook. How's your social media getting along? Is there
Um, Fine. I think we have, yeah, we've got Instagram and a YouTube channel that I have to put a little bit more attention
okay?
to. And so we have Instagram, Facebook. Um, yeah, I think
Lovely.
it's a
I'm
pretty good one.
encouraging all my followers
Thank
to
you.
follow you. I'm encouraging them to get to know you, and for sure, because
Thank you.
this dream is a beautiful, it's a beautiful dream, the perfect, situation for a piece of heaven for them
Thank you.
already here, a
Thank
piece of
you.
heaven,
Yeah, I
till
hope it
because
is.
it's their forever home. It's their
It is.
forever home till they go to their kingdom, to their
Exactly.
ultimate. Thank you, Lya.
Exactly. Thank you, Nita.
I send
Thank
you
you very
kisses
much.
and
And thank you,
big, big
everybody in your
love.
community. Thank you.
Thank
Same
you.
here.
We see you soon. You come to Hong
God
Kong.
bless. I
Come to
wish you come to Costa Rica.
Oh, for sure. But you're coming here. I know you will. Take care. Bye
Take care.
bye.
Love you all. Bye.
Ciao. Sleep well. Sleep
You
well.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye.